Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good night. I don't know, wherever you are. Hello, my name is Marilyn Shannon, and this is the Breaking Free Show. And as always, it is an honor, a pleasure, and delight to be with you here today. And thank you so much for spending the time with us. We're going to have a really fun show ahead, more than you can imagine, as always. And I'm not as busy over there getting us all situated on Blab, on Facebook, here, there, and yonder. So we are broadcasting on more places than I know about. So if you see me somewhere, say hello and tell me I was there because I don't know I'm there because we're on all these new outlets. Anyway, it's all fun and we're happy to have you. And so let me remind you, you can put your name underneath the window that you're watching the video, nickname, whatever, and then you can partake in our chat, which you can go ahead and ask questions, and there's other people in there. You can call us during the show at any time at 919-518-9773. And you can connect with us on Skype at Computers 2, that's the number 2K voice. So if you're watching us on Blab, you can certainly join in and call in. Can't take a seat on Blab, but you certainly can call in with Skype or the phone, and the same thing wherever you are. So, some days we have shows that are kind of deep, heavy. Other times we have shows that are a little lighter. Sometimes we're talking about a philosophy. Sometimes it's a book, it's a strategy, it's a personal story. We love to cover the gamut of what is going on in the world, what people are up to, because I believe we are more powerful than ever. We just have to take that power and the ability to do things. So today, we're going to be having some fun. We have Michael Grandinetti with us, and he is a magician extraordinaire. And he's going to talk to us about magic like you've never heard. And he had a line in his bio about illusion beyond limits. And I think that is just really, really cool. So here we go. Let's welcome Michael to our internet stage. Hey, Michael.
Hey, Marilyn, thanks for having me on. It's good to talk to you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you. And you are in where now? Tell everybody.
I am in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. How's the weather there?
It's good. The weather in LA. You get one weather type the entire year. It's summer basically all year
Oh,
here.
yeah.
So it gets old, but I won't complain.
It gets old. How do you like that? Oh my goodness. Can't imagine. So,
Hey,
okay,
I'm
so
I'm an East Coast guy. I'm
oh,
an
you
East Coast
are?
guy. So yeah, I like my seasons.
Oh, so where are you from originally then?
I'm originally from Pittsburgh.
Oh, and how long
Yeah,
you been in LA?
15 years.
15 years. Wow.
Oh,
All right. So, you are a magician. And
I
how
am.
long have you been a magician?
For just about my entire life. I found magic when I was 5 years old. I got a magic set for Christmas. And to be honest with you, I mean, it really shaped my life. My life would have been completely different had I not found magic. I mean, everything was great. I had a great childhood and very supportive parents and a very supportive family. But when I got that magic set really guided basically all of my decisions, all of my motivations from that point forward, because my goal was to be a magician. So that was just, I never got off that path. It was a life changing experience at 5 years old.
So, I remember when we were young and we would get these magic sets, we would get these things that they looked like a little tube, and I don't know what made them magic. And you stuck your finger in them somehow, and you did things with them, or you had a wand, or you had a special hat. So, what was it about magic for you?
Well, I was a pretty shy kid, and so magic gives you a way to get up in front of people and show them something without having to worry about just being on your own. So I think that helped me. I was always kind of fascinated by anything creative. I like to anything. I would just, when I was a kid, I never had to. No one had to give me something to do to keep me entertained. Like I would always just, play with stuff and figure stuff out. I loved being creative. So I think magic was the perfect blend of those two things, and I was hooked. I mean, I like I said, when I got that magic set, I knew very quickly that this was for me.
Mhm. It's interesting. You just said something about being creative, and you think about magic. You have there's so much creativity, and you're going to have to teach me this or teach me about this, but I'm imagining that there's so much creativity in doing what you're doing, figuring out a way to do something, to show us something, leave some things out. And there's so much creativity on the part of the the people watching it because they have to be willing to go someplace that it's all their imagination.
Well, that's it. I mean, so the goal of the magician, our goal is to make it look simple, to make it look easy, like the magic is just happening. But behind all of that, there's a lot of work, and there's a lot of things that are hidden. Um, and I don't mean just with the magic, but I'll give you an example. So we do a piece in my show where I walk through a steel wall. It's a big sheet of steel. It's 7 foot tall, 4 feet wide. It's 1 inch thick. It weighs several hundred pounds. It's examined by the audience, and I walk through it. It took 7 years to bring to the stage because all of the elements of that piece of magic, not only the magic, but the scripting, the music, the lighting, the staging, the choreography, the costuming, all those pieces have to fit together perfectly before you put it in front of an audience. So behind something that looks very, very simple takes a lot of work and a lot of time to make it look just right. And personally for me, we were talking earlier about this. I'm a perfectionist. I don't want to put anything in front of an audience that isn't right. I figure if people choose to spend their time with me, whether it's on television or whether it's with our live show, if they've made that decision, when they could do a million things, with their time, I appreciate that, and I want to make sure that I give them the best magic and the best show possible. So we put a lot of work into making those details, just right. But yeah, it's very complex, more complex than people think.
So, and I know you're not going to tell us how about your tricks and all that stuff. And he's going to perform a trick like halfway during the show. So, for everybody that's watching it, you've got to stay with us the whole time. But, so you mentioned this one trick about going through the steel and the music and the sound, and how much of a role does that play on the illusion?
A lot,
A
a lot. I
lot.
mean, the music alone. If you think of your favorite movie that you've seen, I'm betting that there are certain scenes in there where music's involved, and the music in a movie, for example, makes you feel certain things, makes you feel emotions, makes you feel connected to that scene in a way that you wouldn't be connected if that music wasn't there. I just saw a documentary about a film director who was putting together a horror movie, a very famous one, and he showed a clip of the movie of a scary scene from the movie with the music, and he showed it without the music. And with the music, you're on the edge of your seat and you felt scared and you felt the suspense. Same scene without the music, it had just a fraction of that effect. So it's much the same in magic, where the right music just, it connects with the audience and it pulls them in a very big way. Same thing with the lighting, with the staging, with the choreography. They all play just an enormous role in the magic. It's like you're creating these little theatrical experiences on stage. They're like little plays or little movies. And all the elements are very, very important in giving the audience that overall experience.
So I guess I'm wondering. So you're either going through the steel or you're not. I
Oh,
mean,
I am.
you
Oh,
are
yeah,
going
I
through the
am.
steel.
What was that?
You are actually going through the steel.
I go behind. So after the audience comes up and they examine it and they rub their hands over to make sure there's no trap doors, there's no hidden openings. They hit it with their hands. They can hit it with hammers if they want. It's very solid. It's very heavy. I go behind it and I walk right through the center of it. And I really do. I really walk through the center of it. You see me walk through the center of it, and I end up on the other side of it.
Hmm. So, hmm.
I can't tell you how it works.
No, you. Uh, how do you know that's what I was going to ask? So Chris has. She's asking on the chat. She wants to know what you think of this quote. Magic is an art form where you lie and tell people you are lying.
um, that to me sounds. It has a bit of a negative connotation. I think the word lie has a negative connotation. Here's what I would say. Going to see a magic show is like going to see a movie. When you go to see the movie that it's not, real. ET is not real. Superman is not real. But when you go to the movie, you let go and you just put that out of your mind and you believe in it for 90 minutes or 2 hours.
Hmm.
And you feel uplifted and you feel happy. I think going to a magic show is the exact same thing. It's not about lying to the audience. It's about creating an illusion,
Hmm.
creating a fantasy, basically live on stage, and letting the audience just let go and believe. And I'll tell you something, feeling amazed and feeling that sense of wonder is a very positive, very uplifting, very healing emotion. So yeah, it's so Chris, I think the word lie in that saying, um, I think it could have been worded differently to make it more positive.
Hmm. So what is it about wonder? Because I guess people know they're going to come and they're going to like be curious. They're going to leave curious, like, and talk about, well, how did he do that? Did he really do that? You know, what they try to figure it out, and they know that they're going to come and they're going to be watching something that they're going to try to figure out. You know, it's like a big game. So what is it about the wonder part that you said is so healing? Why is that healing?
Well, it takes people back to a time where, when we were kids, for example, we believed anything was possible. I know when I was a kid, maybe that's why I connected with magic so much when I was young, and I still connect with it tremendously. But when you're a kid, you believe anything in the world is possible. You're very optimistic. You're not jaded. You're not cynical. And it's important to be that way as an adult and try and be optimistic. But magic takes you back to that point where you felt that way, and it
Mm-hmm.
opens up possibilities. And it's a very light, very happy feeling. And in today's world where people are doing a million things throughout the day, again, as we were talking earlier, there's just so much information coming at people from all different directions. To feel that very simple sense of positivity, of possibilities, I think it's a rare emotion that people don't get to feel a lot. So I think I'll give you an example. And this has happened with magic shows over the years, many different magic shows. But you see people coming in after a long work day in the theater, and they're tired, and you could see they're stressed. You could see they've had a long day, and then you see them walk out, whether it's at intermission or the end of the show, and it's like a weight's lifted off their shoulders. They're happy, they're smiling, they're light, they're because they've let go of all that stress and all that worry, and felt like a kid again.
Right,
So
right,
I think
right.
that's one of the big positive benefits of magic.
It's so interesting because really it does bring up the play part of all of us. How we, and play is so healthy, and it's something that we don't play enough. And I'm thinking of, I mean, I haven't seen a magic trick in a long time, and now I'm like, wow, I want to go to a magic show. I want to wonder. I want to play. I want to see that. I want to imagine, how did he get through that? Was it cut in half? Did he do this? How did he get in there? You know?
Yeah, and see, I get to be a big kid for a living,
You do. Oh my
so
God, you do.
I'm a lucky guy.
So you mentioned again, we had a big talk. You can imagine we had this big talk before any of you showed up, because I couldn't wait. So I'm going to ask you. You said you get up every day and you spend 17 hours a day working. So if
Yes.
you're not performing a trick in um, doing a show, what work is involved 17 hours a day? What are you doing? What goes on behind your scenes? I know you mentioned the music and the choreography, and you also mentioned how you're studying other magicians. So give us a
Well,
little more information about what you do.
yeah, so I research magic as a whole. I don't really study other magicians as much, but I like to see what's going on, what the latest developments are in magic, what the latest technology is. It's like a doctor. If you go to a doctor, you want to make sure the doctor's up on all the latest, medical happenings. I kind of figure whatever your field is, you should always be up on the latest technology, the latest happenings. So I like to be very current with what I'm doing. But the bulk of my day, if we're not traveling and we're not performing or rehearsing, is spent finding basically finding new mountains to climb with magic. It's finding new places to take magic and then trying to take it there, which is it's a lot of thought, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of details. I'll give you a couple of examples. So about 10 years ago, I decided I wanted to try and perform for the biggest live audience possible. And so I thought, where's the biggest live audience I could possibly perform for? And I figured stadiums. Those are just such large venues. So I had to figure out a way to take my magic into stadiums. So we started to do performances in stadiums for all sorts of events, from NFL halftime shows to just a wide variety of stadium events. And if you think about it, for a magician, that's pretty challenging because people are watching the magic from 360 degrees, every direction.
Yeah.
You're under the bright daylight. You're in weather conditions that you can't predict. You have people looking down at you from high levels. It's very and you're in a vast, wide open space. So it's you know basically setting that goal of what mountain I want to climb and figuring out a way to do it. And also, we travel so much. I'm on the road probably about 80% of the year, and so we're moving our show from place to place to place, from theater to theater, from you know just show to show. We do so many different types of shows. It's making sure that all the details for those shows are perfect, so that when we arrive in a new city, so for example, if we were coming to Raleigh, where you all are, there's a lot of conversation that happens ahead of time with the theater, with the promoter, making sure the advertising is perfect, making sure the stage is perfect, making sure everything is perfect. And I'm not, I have a great team of people who work with me, but I'm not the best delegator. I like to, going back to being a perfectionist, I still like to have my hand in everything and double check everything. So, when you're on the road that much, your day is pretty full going over, every detail for every project. Because that way, if something isn't perfect, I can only blame me, and I've got to figure out a better way to do it if that's the case, if something isn't right. So I like to have that, um, monitoring of what's going on. So there's just a lot. There's a lot to do. Another example is we have a television show that premieres next month. So right now I'm in the full swing of promotion for that, with radio stations and with great shows such as yours, all over the country. And that takes quite a bit of time as well. But I wouldn't trade any of it. There's nothing else I could see myself doing all day long.
Well, there's so many questions there. And also, I just want to remind everyone that you're listening. You're welcome to call in, ask Michael anything you would like. He won't tell you how he does his tricks, but you might ask him the next question that I want to ask him, and it could come from you instead of me. So feel free to call in 919-518-9773, or you can connect with us on Computers 2K Voice. So what? So for most people getting into magic, or somebody wanting to get into magic, where do they start? Do they find a mentor? I mean, where does it begin?
I would say find a local magic shop in your city, an actual physical store you can go to, and they exist in cities all over the country. They're like a lot of stores. They're becoming a little bit rare because the internet is so convenient. But for me, when I was a kid, being able to go to a magic store and watch people perform and see just a ton of magic there in person, learn what I liked, learn what I didn't like, it was tremendously helpful. I always tell people of any age when they're getting involved in magic, get a couple of simple pieces of magic, things that are very easy, that you don't have to really worry about performing, and then go get used to performing them for people. And because they're rather simple, the stress of performing, at least the magic part of it, isn't there. So you can kind of get your feet wet performing magic for people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say, get a good book, get a good beginner's magic book where you can read through a magic book and study it and learn from that. Because a lot of people today want to go on YouTube and they want to watch videos to learn magic. And again, it's very convenient. But the challenge with that, and sometimes the problem with that, is people will emulate what they see instead of putting themselves into whatever the performance is. If you get a book, you can't emulate somebody else performing it. You've got to read it and understand it, and you start to put your own personal spin on it. And I think for magic, as in a lot of things, I think that's really important. I
Mm-hmm.
think whatever it is you do, you want to make sure that you're putting your own personal spin on it. So I would advise people to, again, find a magic store, support them. They're yes, while it's not as convenient, you have to get in your car to go down there, and you can't just order something from your computer, but it's worth it. It's worth it to
Right.
have them around. It's worth it to go down there. Um, and then get a couple simple pieces of magic, and then get a really good magic book, and then perform as much as you can. Perform as much as you can for people, friends, family, coworkers, whoever, and just get used to it. And I guarantee you will have so much fun, even if you don't choose to do it as a profession like I did. Just being able to do some magic for people is so much fun.
So, Michael, you say that you like to take magic in places that magic doesn't normally go, or somebody hasn't thought about putting it there. So, you mentioned a stadium. And when you were talking about people looking at your magic from different standpoints, and from the top, from the side. I mean, that's a huge challenge. So, do you wake up in the middle of the night like jotting things down and, I mean, playing it out in your head ahead of time? I mean, what's your normal process when you come up with an idea like that? So, what do you do?
Uh, I will sit for hours and hours trying to figure out the best way to. So for the stadiums, for example, I spent many hours going over many different pieces of magic that I thought might work, and really evaluating if they would work, and then testing them out. We tested them out. So we did a rehearsal where we videoed the performance from every direction, so we would see what the audience would see from every direction. We rehearsed outside so that I would get a sense of what the weather conditions were like, and it's I try and simulate exactly what I'm going to face in these environments so that when I get there, there aren't any major surprises. But again, it's going back to the details and really planning carefully. Planning in a magic show is 90% of the battle. If you've planned ahead, once you get to where you're going, it's going to be much simpler.
How
So
many
I can't
tricks?
recommend stuff.
How many magic tricks do you do in a show, in an average show?
So in a 90-minute show, I'll do about 20, which is a lot, but I like to make a show very magic dense. I think if people are coming to see a magic show, I want to give them as much magic as possible. So we do big things, we do small things, we do interactive pieces with the audience. Our live show, I try and add a lot of different feels to it. Some pieces are dramatic and suspenseful, some pieces are funny, I hope. Some pieces are more romantic, some pieces are very interactive.
What's a
You know,
romantic kind of a piece? What would
I,
be
I was
romantic?
hope I was hoping you would ask that question.
Really? How
So
come? How come?
there's a piece
Yeah,
that we just taped for the television show
yeah.
that's going to air this summer. It's a romantic illusion. What it is it's a large painting of a girl. It's a 6 foot tall painting, life size, and the whole illusion is presented like a story, like a little vignette. And what happens is it's set in an artist's studio, and I'm the artist who painted these paintings, and I basically fall in love with the image in this painting. And being completely fascinated by this image in this painting, I use magic I touch the hand of the girl in the painting and visibly pull her out of the painting. And she steps out of the painting and she becomes real, leaving just a silhouette in the painting where she once stood. And she dances around the stage, kind of experiencing the real world for the first time. And she and I dance together, and I make a rose appear from another painting for her, and I give it to her. And just as we're about to kiss, I pull her close. She instantly disappears, and she reappears back in the painting. Now she's holding the rose in the painting that I gave her when she was in the real world.
So let me.
So
Yeah,
it's a story piece. It's
it's
emotional.
beautiful.
It's yeah. I'm really proud of it. That's a piece that I came up with when I was in college, so a few years ago, and I love it. It's one of my favorites. So I'm glad you gave me the opportunity
Yeah.
to talk.
Well, so do you use computers to holograms? I mean, do you reflection screens? I know you're not going to tell us, but I mean, there's got to be certain kinds of things that are just like things you just magicians use. So is that
Uh,
how some of that is done?
not in the show. No, I mean
Uh,
But in the design phase, when I'm designing an illusion, I have an illusion right now on my computer that I'm designing, and I'll use computers and art programs and kind of drafting programs to draw them up and to make sure the planning of it is perfect. But no, on stage, nope, it's not holograms. It's nothing like that. Trust me. Let me put it this way: you don't want to know. It would
Okay.
be
Okay.
I have found that when people accidentally find a secret to an illusion, they're always disappointed.
Hmm.
They're never. People think it's going to be something really, outlandish or really surprising where they're going to go, wow. But really people go, oh, I really wish I didn't know. So, it's more disappointing to know.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I'm not sitting here and he's shaking his head. Yes.
I have a question.
He has a question.
Okay.
Michael, years ago when I was a kid, I mean, the thing, if you wanted to explain magic, you would say the hand is faster than the eye. Is this still there, or there's now more to it than just the hand, right?
There's a lot more to it than the hands. And I got to be honest with you, it's that I've heard that saying so many times. Yeah, it's a very, very popular saying in magic, and really, it's never about the quickness of the hand. I can't think of any piece of magic where the speed of the hand makes the magic work. I think that saying was invented by somebody who wasn't a magician, by somebody who was guessing at how the magic works, because it's more about the psychology of it and understanding what audiences are going to think and where they're going to look, and how they're going to react, and it's anticipating all of those elements. And if we're doing a large piece of magic, it's the same kind of thing. It's understanding what's the audience going to think. What are they going to feel? What are they going to are they going to relate to this in a certain way? So yeah, there's a lot more to it now. That's kind of a nice segue. I could do a piece of sleight of hand magic for you
Mm.
if you'd like to see
Yeah,
one.
I would love to. Then I want to ask you uh, how you use what you know about magic in everyday life. If you could,
Absolutely.
that's interesting to me. That's a really interesting segue into an interesting conversation about, because if you do magic and you can understand how people think, how they can feel, well, how do you take that into everyday life, and what can we learn from that for all of us in our lives? Magic is not unreal, right?
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. I think that there's certainly elements of it that are relatable
Hmm.
to everyday life
Yeah.
that we could talk
Oh,
about. I
I'd
mean,
love
let's
to
put it
know
this way.
that. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's affected my life. I mean, it definitely, you know, the philosophy of magic, um, definitely, is with me in my everyday life as well, away from the stage. So, yeah,
Okay,
a lot to
cool.
talk about. But
Okay,
let
go
me show
ahead.
you this.
Go ahead.
Let me hold this up so you can see this. Now, I got to tell all of you guys that if we were actually together, I would borrow this dollar bill from you. So I don't want you to think it's a trick dollar bill. And let me pull my sleeves up because I don't want you guys to think that anything is up the sleeves. Okay, can you see the dollar bill? Okay,
Yeah.
my hands are empty.
Can you see?
I'm going to do this really slow. Okay, just like we were talking about. I'm not going to do it fast, and make sure that my hands and the dollar bill never ever leave the frame of the camera here. Okay, now watch. I'm just going to fold it in half, just like this. Watch. I'm going to fold it up, just like this. Again, I'm going to move very slow. I'm going to show you something with the dollar bill that you don't normally see. Watch the dollar. I'm not going to make it disappear, but I found if you take a dollar bill really slowly and fold it and give it a little bit of a twist, it won't disappear, but it'll almost seem to turn itself inside out,
Hmm. Hmm.
just like that. Now that's actually a real dollar bill. It's not glued, it's not taped. You get it real close so you guys can see.
Hmm.
Now, if we were there, I would give this to you as a souvenir, but it doesn't last long. Again, watch the dollar, watch my hands, keep your eye on everything. And again, I'll do everything very slowly with just two fingers. Two fingers. I'm going to open the bill up. If you look, it'll go right back to normal, just like that.
You have a clapping thing.
And that's a little sleight of hand magic for you.
Cool. Well, that was pretty cool, and that was our magic of having a
I
whole
like it.
audience of
I love it.
clapping.
Thank you. I hope you
Thank
like
you.
it. That's
Yeah.
actually one of the that's I learned that a long time ago, and it's one of my favorite pieces of magic. You really, because again, you could do it real slow, and you could do it real close to people, and you could use their money, and again, you could give it to them when it's all mixed up like that, and I love that one.
Okay, so I know you all are listening, and Michael is so down to earth. I mean, he is not what I would have thought of this, you know, magician. What I was making up. I mean, I really feel like Michael is just so down to earth and so heart centered. So it's really a pleasure to have this opportunity to get to know him, and for all of you out there to get to know him. So we talked a little bit about this transition when you were saying earlier before the trick, and that was great. And I don't even know why we even call it a magic trick, because I feel like it should be something different.
Yeah, I don't use the word trick a lot because again, I think the word trick could have a negative connotation to it, like you're deceiving people,
Hmm.
and that's not what it's about. It's not about deceiving people, but it's about hopefully giving them that sense of, amazement. So I agree. I don't use the word trick too much,
Hmm.
but it is a word that people they relate to. If you say that you're going to show them a magic trick, they understand what you're going to do. So
Right.
it's certainly usable, but I'm glad you like that.
I did, and I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, well, you're taking me. You figured it. You figured out that magic, that piece of magic. You're taking me somewhere where I may not have been before, and there's more to go in even trying to maybe figuring it out that I haven't been before. So it's just a matter of it's really not a trick. It's really just it's something else. I mean, you're expanding me, and and just not giving me the all the pieces yet. But it's right in front of me if I could figure it out somehow, right?
Well, I think if anything else, it shows people that there's always a little bit more than what we
Yes.
perceive in our everyday life.
Yes.
We go through life with one kind of vision of what our sense of reality is, but sometimes you have to remember there's more going on. There's more out. I mean, open up your mind to all the possibilities of everything that you're kind of experiencing out there. I think magic's a great metaphor for doing just that, and that's really important. For me, that's helped me tremendously. It's allowed me to kind of explore situations on a much more detailed and different level than I would have had I not understood this kind of magic way of thinking of look at things that you see, look at things that you don't see, examine things that aren't right in front of you, think deeply, think critically, really evaluate everything from every standpoint. Being a magician has really helped me do just that.
So again, I want to pick your brain in how you use this for everyday life. Like you were saying, you said that you can your process in doing this is figuring out where people are. So give me an example of how people feel, of where they are, of where their eyes are. Like so, when you're constructing something, can you give us a little bit of a description of where we are, where you think we are, and how you're meeting us with this magic? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So basically, in developing a piece of magic, uh, you definitely have to understand the audience. An example of how I've used that when I've created an illusion um, would be I do a close up piece in my show, and I do this with large illusions too. But I do a piece where I get somebody up from the audience, and they sit next to me on the steps of the stage, and they think of any card. So they think of a card, and then they put their hand on my arm, and as they're thinking of their card, they're pushing down on my arm. And when they lift their hand up, written on my arm, under where their hand was, is the name of their card. Now, to do that, uh, you know, you have to, as the magician, understand what people are going to think, where they're going to look at a certain time, where they're going to, what they're going to feel at a certain time. That's a piece of magic where there's a lot of psychology. There's a lot of, again, just understanding um, personal interaction with people to make that work, because you have someone, again, sitting right next to you, who's essentially making all this magic kind of happen with you.
Hmm.
So, I mean, without going into the specifics of how it works, that's a specific example of one that really was, um, dependent on understanding the relationship of one person to another to make the magic work. Now, when it comes to a large stage illusion, I'll give you another example. We do a piece in my show where I get chained to this platform and I get lifted up above the stage about 20 feet, and instantly I disappear from that platform and I end up right in the center of the audience. Now, again, that's a piece of magic where you have to understand just a lot of what the audience is going to expect, what they're going to think, what they're going to feel, and you create an illusion basically right in line with, okay, the audience is going to think and they're going to feel and they're going to believe all of this. While they're doing that, I'm going to be doing something completely different. But you know the path that they're going down, and you kind of cater to that path. So, it's when you understand those elements of audience perception, it lets you create an illusion
Hmm.
that is really going to hit an audience hard, because you're setting up their expectations while you're doing something completely differently. So they're expecting something that isn't even remotely close as to what's going to happen.
So
So that's
are people creatures of habit based on what
completely,
you, huh?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I would say completely, um, with exceptions. I mean, everybody's not the same. But if we're looking at audiences as a whole, I think there are general characteristics that all audiences have. Now, when we go from city to city to city, audiences may be different in reacting to certain pieces of magic. Some will like the suspenseful ones more in some cities. Some will like the romantic ones more in some cities. Some will like the comedy ones more in some cities. I think the culture of the cities and the culture of the people in those cities kind of dictate which part of the show they gravitate towards and connect with more. But as a whole, where they're going to look and what they're going to see and how they're going to feel and what they're going to do, I think that it is basically the same.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think it comes down to people, reacting in ways that they're used
Hmm.
to
So,
certain things.
how did you study the psychology of people? I mean, how did you study people to the degree that you're doing it? And I mean, there's something I want to ask you, and I don't know what the question is, but there's
Well,
something I'm looking for, and I'm not sure how to ask it, and I don't know what it is I'm looking for. I just know that there's something I want to know from you. And
I understand. I think for me, I learned by doing. I've done, because I started so young, and I started magic at 5. I started doing shows professionally at 12. So from 12 to now, basically, I've never stopped. I put myself through college doing shows. When you do that many shows and you're in front of that many people and that many audiences over all those years, you learn from doing, if you're open to it, if you're looking for it. And I try and be like a sponge. I try and absorb. To this day, I try and be very in tune with the audience and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. So over all those years of doing this and watching and listening to audiences, I think it gave me a really good sense of, here's what you have to do to make this work a certain way, and here's how people are going to respond, and here's the similarities in audiences everywhere. And here's So for me, it was repetition. It was doing shows over and over and over again. And our shows evolved. I mean, the show that I did at 15 is not the show that we're doing now. And I hope the show that I'm doing 10 years from now is, even more evolved from what I'm doing now.
well,
But
yeah, it's so fascinating because, you have to be able to give people or share something or show them something that they have never dreamed of, and yet,
that's my hope. Yeah,
right,
that's my goal.
right,
Absolutely.
and it's like I I I heard a quote, and I can't recall exactly what it was, but it was about, like Henry Ford when he was, developing the car. He wasn't interested that people wanted a faster horse. He came up with the car. They thought they wanted a faster horse. They didn't know they wanted a car. Right? So you're giving people stuff that they haven't even they don't have a clue. You know, you're listening to them in a way, and they're telling you something, but they don't even know what they're telling you. We don't even know what we're telling you for you to figure out what it is to do, and it's brilliant. You have got to be brilliant. Period.
Well, you're you're very kind. I think that you hit the nail on the head for giving people things that they don't expect, and that's why it works. I think that's why our Magic in the stadiums have been so successful, because people go to these football games or these NBA basketball games, and they don't expect to see Magic there. And suddenly, when you see somebody floating in the center of a football field, you go, wow, I didn't even expect that, nor did I think that was even possible.
Right.
It makes you connect with it. That surprise of element of it
So
makes you connect.
how many, let's say, famous singers or performers would contact you to for them to do some magic? Does that ever happen?
I've done consulting over the years. I've taught magic to actors on soap operas. I taught the actors in The Bold and Beautiful on CBS a couple years ago. I created magic for a commercial for the U.S. Treasury, the
That's a
Conan
magic
O'Brien
trick.
show. Yeah, it was
The
when they were
money thing.
introducing the new $20 bill, and they wanted me to do some magic to make the $20 bill kind of float and fly around and really kind of catch attention on the screen for this commercial. Um, for the Conan O'Brien show, we talked about a design to make one of the guests magically appear in the guest chair, because apparently this specific guest, every time he came on the show, he had a new thing. He had a new way of. One time he dropped out of the sky. One time he came out in a car. So they figured, how about magic? So we talked about a way to use magic to make him appear. I've had illusion designs that have been used everywhere from, China to Japan to Korea to Italy, um, to all over here in the U.S. Some of my designs have been, we've licensed them out to varying degrees. So yeah, I've done quite a bit of work like that. I've consulted on books because I've researched magic for so long, and I really have been a student of magic my whole life and ongoing. I'll be a student of magic for the next, forever. I mean, it's just you never stop learning. But because of that, I've done a lot of research for magic history books that have been written. I've written several articles for magic books and publications, and I love that. I love being able to hopefully share something that's going to, again, give people amazement or help them in some way.
So I have more questions, but I want to. So your main reason for doing magic, is it what you just said, to help to give people you know, to give them some reason to a way of enjoying themselves, a way to open up themselves? I mean, what's your main, like if somebody said, what is your personal movement? What is it?
Basically, to have people let go of all their worries and stresses, and for 90 minutes feel like a kid again. For me, when I stand on stage and I look out and I see the audience and I see them reacting to what we're doing and I see them smiling and I see them having fun, that's it. Nothing's better. Nothing's better. It's not about, when I perform, it's not about me. It's not like, look what I can do. Isn't this great? That's not where my head is at all. It's I love watching the audience react to what we're doing. And my goal is to see everybody out there smiling and happy and feeling like a kid. I can remember very vividly what it felt like when I saw some of my first magic tricks, and how amazed I felt and how fascinated I felt and how it was just such a full emotion. Um, I don't get to feel that as much now because I've been doing magic for so long. It's hard to be amazed. It's hard to
Right.
not think like a magician. But if I can give that to somebody and make somebody feel that and watch them react, again, what better job is there than that?
Right. So who is your, I mean, if I asked you, and this is probably a question you've been asked many times, like who do you think is the greatest magician of all time? Or somebody that was like a role model or somebody you look up to?
Well, I can't say there's any one person that
Mm-hmm.
was like a role model when I was growing up. But I will say I studied everything that I can get my hands on when it came to magic, and I watched everything that I could watch when it came to magic. I used to, when I was a kid, when the newspaper would come to our family's house every Saturday, like with the TV listings in it, I would get the TV as soon as the paper would come. I would get the TV listings. I would go through line by line, and I would look at every show, talk shows, sitcoms, and see if a magician was going to be on. And I would set the VCR when there were VCRs, and I would tape them, and I would watch them, and I would study them, and I would learn what I liked, and I would learn what I didn't like, and I would trade videos with other magicians all over the country, and I was just a very hungry student of magic. So all of it, I watched as much magic as I possibly could from everywhere. I would trade tapes with people from Europe and trade to see what was the magic like, in different countries. What was the magic like, everywhere when I was a teen. And again, because there was no YouTube or
Right.
internet in those days. Um, so all of it, every
So
bit of it.
when you're looking at a magic trick, can you figure it out when you see it? When a magician is doing it, can you see?
Nowadays,
Yeah,
I wish the answer to that was no.
right.
I wish the answer was I can't figure it out. I can't. But you tend to think like a magician,
Hmm.
and the way magic works is that like music. In music there are 8 different notes, and from those 8 different notes you can make a billion different songs. In magic there are certain principles, and they're combined in different ways to make a
I
billion
see.
different magic tricks. But when you understand those principles and you know what they are, like the notes in a scale in music, you can kind of deconstruct the magic and see what
Hmm.
principles are being used. But I can remember being amazed, and I can remember being fooled by magic. Even into my teens, I would see things at times when I would watch these videotapes and just go, "Wow, look at that," and have to really think about it, really study it, and but I wish but I welcome the opportunity to be amazed. I would love to sit
Hmm.
back and be amazed, and I'm sure it'll happen again. I'm sure
Hmm.
somewhere, I'll watch something and there'll be a surprise that wasn't expected or something,
Hmm.
and I can't wait for that.
So today, I mean, I know you love the feeling of the wonder and the excitement of watching your audience and, in awe and looking at their children or children looking at, their parents and going, wow, did you see that? And everybody's trying to figure out, what happened. In your life, if it's not from magic, where do is it from just reading the audience that you get that feeling of awe? I mean, where do you get it from?
It's from That's a good question. So yeah, it's from the audience a lot,
With the creation.
but it's also every once in a while I will kind of step back and smell the roses and go, how lucky am I to be doing what I wanted to do from when I was 5 years old?
Hmm.
And how lucky am I that I've had the opportunity to do these television shows or to do these
Hmm.
stadium shows or to perform at the White House? And um, I don't do that too often as far as look back. I'm always kind of pushing forward, but every once in a while, I'll kind of just look back and be very thankful for the opportunities that I've been
Right.
able to work towards, and that gives me a sense of
And
awe. It's not lost on me that I'm
good.
very fortunate
Well, it couldn't
to.
be lost on you because when you create, when you're designing, as you say, a new design, and you come up with a picture in your mind, and you're able to design that magic. I would imagine just for any of us out here, for any of the work that I do, I'm a business and life coach, and if I land something, if I figure something out with someone, something about their business, something about their life, if I come up with a new project that I'm passionate about, and that the pieces fall in, I'm in the process of writing a book about men, and when I came up with the title, I about went into contortions because it was so perfect for this book that I went into contortions. My neck went back, my chest went up. I was seriously floating. I mean, I might have been levitating. I don't know. But that to me does it. And I would imagine for somebody like you, when you figure something out, you feel that feeling first.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. When a new opportunity comes up that when we've been working on something for a long time, a new direction to take magic in, when all the pieces finally come together and it's all working.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel just like you. I feel excited. I feel even more passionate about it. It's just all of that enthusiasm
Mm-hmm.
is certainly there.
Just
So I understand what you're saying completely.
so I know you mentioned that you're launching or getting ready to for a TV show.
Yeah.
So what is that called? Where would we find it? Are you always on it? Is it your show?
So well, it's a show called Masters of Illusion. It's on the CW network,
Okay.
which is around the country,
Yes, we have
and
it. We even have it here.
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's basically magicians from around the world that the producers have invited to Hollywood, and they basically said, "Show us your best stuff." So you're going to tune in every week, and you're going to see 6 or 8 different magicians doing what they feel is their best magic, and you're going to see magic from everywhere, all different types of magic, all different styles of magic. Personally, we've done all 3 seasons of the show so far. The third season starts May 20th, so next month. It's a Friday night, 8 o'clock, and the challenge with doing multiple seasons of a show is trying to top yourself and trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do this year that I haven't done the previous 2 years, and how am I going to make it different? You can't just, the first year I levitated myself, I floated in the air. Second year, I made one of my assistants float in the air. This year, for example, we get somebody from the audience and we make an
Mm-hmm.
audience member float in the air. And you get to completely unrehearsed. She had no idea that day that she was going to be floating on television. And you get to watch her react and see, what does somebody feel? What do they look like? And, how do they react when they're floating in the air? So that's one of the pieces that we did. We did that painting piece.
Are you
That
on? Are
painting.
you on each time, each week, or
So there are 13 episodes. We taped 6 different pieces of
okay?
magic. So I'll be on about half of them.
Let's see. So
Yeah.
okay, so the painting, somebody floating,
Yeah.
um, and this is a big deal. What else um, are you? What's your next accomplishment? You did a studio. I mean, not a studio, stadium. Is there something that you can share that you're working on as far as like the next big aha for you?
All the time.
All
All
the
the
time.
time. I'm not happy in my day if there's not a next mountain to climb. So without getting into specifics, which I'm not able to do, but I will tell you this. So more television. There are other television, because I think magic and television are just perfect together, because magic's a visual medium and television's a visual medium. So I think they're just perfect for each other. So I'm working on some more television projects. With our live stage show, we're traveling, like I said, a lot, but I'm always finding new places to take it. We're also exploring some places where we could perform longer term, and be there for several months at a time. Because a lot of times we go to cities and we're there for one night, and we miss having the chance to see a lot of people and have a lot of people come and see the show. So we're working on that as far as staying in certain places a little bit longer. Also, a lot of different kind of products for Magic that I think will really be interesting, using Magic in unique ways to entertain and even help people in some ways. So there's a lot to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I think I will run out of years before I run out of mountains to climb with Magic.
Yeah, you're quite innovative. So there's no
Thank you.
telling where what dot you'll connect.
Well,
Out
thank you.
here.
That is my goal.
Yeah. So in the few minutes we have left, so is there something? Are you marketing something? Are you selling something? Is there something you want our audience to do? Help you to do anything?
Well, I appreciate that. At this point, we don't have any physical products that I can mention to you, but I will say this. I always welcome people to connect, either via social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, through my website. I love hearing from people. I'm always happy to answer any questions anybody has, or um, about magic, or even kind of following your own passion in life. So I would always say, feel free to connect with me on any of those platforms, and I love to hear from everybody.
So give us a platform and a handle or something.
So my website is michaelgrandinetti.com. My Facebook is Michael Grandinetti. Twitter is Grandinetti MG, and Instagram is Michael Grandinetti. So, by all means, please check those out. And like I said, we travel all the time. So, if anybody sees a magician with a big, long Italian last name coming to your town, it's probably me.
Yeah.
So please do come and see us. And I'd love to meet everybody.
Why do you do these shows, Michael?
Nothing else I'd rather be doing.
I mean,
Nothing else.
like this
I mean,
show, this talk show. Why do you do this?
nothing else I'd rather be doing. I love and appreciate the opportunity that you've given me to talk about what I love. I mean, magic is not a job; it's my way of life, and I appreciate your interest, and I appreciate you giving me the chance to share a little bit about what I do with your listeners and your viewers. So um, I love that.
Well, you're special. I would love to hear, and we have like 2 minutes left, but in a minute or so, could you share the importance of somebody following their dream or their passion? Because I think you have something to say about that.
Yeah. So I heard a saying one time that's always been in my mind, and the saying is, "Don't know what you can't do." Don't know what you can't do. And that I had to think about that when I first heard it. But it means don't put any roadblocks in your own mind as to what you want or what you think you can do. It's so worth it to find your passion and then follow that passion. For me, I never wanted to say what if. I never wanted to say what if I would have gone to Los Angeles. What if I would have, I would have rather tried it and failed at it or not gotten what I wanted than not try at all. So I didn't know what I couldn't do. I just went for it. When you follow your passion, even if you don't achieve the end goal. If you're following your passion, you're going to enjoy the journey. And it is so worth it to do that, just to take the journey. Don't worry about the end game. Just enjoy the journey, and you're going to have so much fun in life and be so fulfilled in life. Like I said, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing than springing out of bed every day and going to work on my magic. And I think everybody has that. It makes me tremendously happy, and I wish that for everybody. So I would tell everybody, go out there and you know don't know what you can't do.
Mhm. That was beautiful, Michael. And what you triggered in me at that moment was, when you think about this with Michael, sometimes he has the end result of maybe of a piece of magic. He may not always know how he's going to get there, and maybe he has an idea of a piece of magic, and as he pursues it, something bigger comes up. He didn't have in his mind initially that creation, but once he began, he found it, and because you can't have all the stops along the way already done and figured out. It's not that much fun, and it wouldn't happen anyway, right?
That's true. You adjust as you go, and that's part of the process, and that's part of the fun of the process.
Mm-hmm.
It's really excuse me, it's really exciting to figure out your path as you're moving forward, and being flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, you don't know what's going to happen along the way, and what opportunities are going to present themselves,
Right.
or who you're going to meet along the way. And that's why I said enjoy, appreciate and enjoy the journey. Um, there's a lot of great things out there that you can do.
There's a lot of great magic that we can create. I remember
Yeah.
thinking about this, about walking through an electrical door. You know how sometimes not sometimes, you go to Target or wherever, you step on a thing, the door opens and you go in. That's magic. That's magic to me. When the door
Well,
opens up, that's magic, right?
well, if you think about it, a lot of the things that are being done. I mean, let me put it this way: every time I travel a lot, every time I fly, I look out the window and I go, "This is magic. Look at this. We're all up in the air, in this incredibly heavy object,
Mm-hmm.
just sailing right along."
Yeah,
And you go, "There's that's magic in and of itself." Also,
that's
I mean,
magic.
obviously, there's science involved, but yeah, I mean, there's you could find the magical things in everyday life for sure.
Absolutely. So, with that, I want to thank you so very much for being here. You are a charming guest, and I
Thank
appreciate it
you.
so much. And everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to having you again, joining us next week. Have a fabulous week. Do you know what? Notice some magic around you. Notice it, and tune in and find Michael on the CW. And with that, everybody have a wonderful week. Michael, thank you.
Marilyn, thank you.
Bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, My Life, My Will with Gisela DiCarlo, The Tanya Love Show, Health Then with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Triangle Be Well with Howard Jacobson, Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Yisrael Cutler, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Parent Dome with Ryan Miller, Current Affairs with Amnon Nissan. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.